Welcome back, Fine Music, episode 394 now. And hope you enjoyed 393. Fred's always making some great discoveries. Definitely
Yeah.
want to check those out. And now it's Murray's turn. Go ahead,
Okay,
sir.
well, I had scheduled a guest appearance today for a local blues musician, but he wore his voice out performing over the weekend. So he's going to have to put that off until next week. So we'll get him next week. And so I had to throw something together quickly. I haven't really found much music. So I am going to talk about three albums which disappointed me.
Ah,
So the first one, here we go, share screen. We want to put that up.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Oh, I only wanted the one, but oh well. So I'm going to talk about Agents of Fortune. This one's supposed to be a surprise. Okay, just a second here. Okay. Sorry.
Yes, for this
Sorry.
episode, we'll change the name of our group to Blues Music.
Yeah, there you go. Lose
Yeah.
music. Okay.
Yeah.
Share.
Lose these three albums. Okay, go ahead. Or
That. Is this going to work? No,
Agent of Fortune, that was their commercial breakthrough, huh?
right, exactly, which is why it disappointed me.
Why
No,
did they sell out, man?
yeah, exactly. That's exactly my feeling. That because I talked earlier in an earlier show about how much I loved their first three albums. And they were just like my favorites in high school. Really hard rock, driving music, just incredible stuff. And then they put this one out, and I just couldn't get into it. I mean, Don't Be Reaper's a good song. It's got a couple other good songs, but yeah, just way too commercial, way too poppy, way too slick. I mean, it even has a guest appearance by Patti Smith, which just wasn't enough to like get me into it. So very, very disappointed in Agents of Fortune. And frankly, pretty much everything they've put out since. You know, they
Yeah,
put
that was
out
a
some
real
good
term, yeah.
songs, but none of their albums really grabbed me. And then, of course, the other thing that happened, this one came out in 76. By 1977, I got my hard rock fixes from punk rock, and that's where all my interest is going, and they just weren't keeping up with it. So that is disappointment number one. Disappointment number two is this guy here. I mean, I'm a huge Bowie fan.
Oh my God, the
My whole
sacrilege.
life. And but he has disappointed me several times. Actually, he retroactively disappointed me in that not his first album, but the first big album, the Space Oddity. Really, I just never got into that. But then all the Biggie stuff I loved. And then Young Americans definitely disappointed me because he went in such a completely different direction.
Yeah, R&B. Yeah.
But then he won me back with the rest of his 70s stuff. And then I got into the 80s. Let's Dance is a good album, but kind of,
Commercial.
pretty commercial. Yeah. And then Tonight, his follow-up was an attempt to continue the commercial, but just didn't pull it off. And also, Tonight, like half the songs are covers. It's just not much Bowie. Yeah, and then he puts out Never Let Me Down, and boy, did that let me down. And I actually went out just last week and bought a copy of this to see, is this really as bad as I thought it was? Yes, it is. They're like, I mean, seriously, maybe three songs on here that I really like. Time Will Tell is a great song.
Oh, okay.
Zeros I like. The Glass Spider, the chorus is kind of interesting, but the story is just stupid. And then he based a whole tour on that. And then he's got a cover an Iggy Pop song, Bang Bang, which is a great song. So that's, 3.5 good songs out of 8 or 10, however many songs are on here. So there we go. Disappointment number 2 in my life. And now to number 3.
You're hitting hard, man.
I already got a hint of this one, but we will go put it full screen. There we go. Trout Mask Replica.
Oh,
Wow.
And
wow. You
why
were
was this
disappointed in
disappointing?
that?
What? Well,
You were
okay,
disappointed?
I have to tell a story about why I was
Oh, yes,
disappointed.
go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah.
And the story starts with Citizen Kane. The first
Oh,
time I saw Citizen Kane, I was like, what's so great about this? It's just, it's a decent movie, but doesn't strike me as anything special. And then I realized that, like, all the visual effects, he was inventing them. But by the time I had seen it, I was so used to those camera angles and lighting and all that showing up and, becoming the standard language of film that when I saw Citizen Kane for the first time, it just didn't strike me as anything that special. Um, Same thing happened when I first listened to John Coltrane. Like, but that was part of what, I mean, the first one I really dove into was Love Supreme, which is an amazing album. But I'd been told Coltrane was difficult and noisy and annoying, and Love Supreme is just gorgeous. Later, I found Coltrane albums, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is what they were talking about. So that's what happened with Trout Mask Replica. By the time I actually went back and listened to it, I'd been listening to enough Zappa and enough experimental stuff and stuff like The Residents and Per Ubu that what was amazing and new when he recorded that just didn't register with me. It's just like, oh, I've heard this before. Now, I've listened to it many times since, and yes, it's an amazing album, and I'm no longer disappointed. But my first listen of it is like I say, what's so special about this? It's kind of weird, yeah, but so there we go. 3 albums that disappointed me. I mean, I'm sure I could go on for many others, but those were the top 3 that came to my mind.
do you have a favorite Beefheart album?
Um, I actually like Safe as Milk, and it's the more straightforward blues album out of
Yeah,
all of
blues
them.
album.
I have to admit, there's a lot of them I've never listened to,
Yeah.
so it's a little, I can't really judge his whole work, but. And of course, I love his vocal on Willie the Pimp, but off Hot Rats. Do you have a favorite Beefheart, Fred?
Uh, I would say Safe as Milk too, because of accessibility and when it came out, it seemed a powerful album to listen to.
Yeah.
And I could play it in the record store that I managed without driving out customers.
Yeah.
I, some of my coworkers would say, geez, turn that off. We want to keep people in the store,
Yeah.
I have so many fond memories of going to Pooh Bah's and hearing jazz while I was shopping.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my Pooh shirt here. Huh? Oh, you only can't
Yeah.
see it, but yeah, I actually my last couple of years in LA, I was a regular there because it actually was part of my job. I went to Pooh Bah's Records because I had a client who liked to shop used record stores and he lived in Pasadena. So that was my job once a week is to take him to Pooh Bah Records.
What a great thing. What a
Yeah,
great job. Yeah.
my first introduction to Coltrane, because I read in Downbeat that people booed him and walked away from the jazz festival. I went out and bought Ascension, which was
Okay.
his first real free jazz album with
Yeah.
Carol Sanders and everyone. And I went to the Harvard Coop to buy it, and the salesman pulled the album out and he goes, I don't think you want to get this. He tried to sell me another one. And I said, no, he goes, have you ever listened to Coltrane? I go, only with Miles Davis. And he goes, I think you should buy something else, but I bought
Oh,
that one. We took it home and wow, it knocked my socks off.
Yeah. Well, I think the one that really, where I finally got the Coltrane I was looking for, I think it's called Ascension, but it's a live album recorded right at the end. And it's just like, there is so much pain coming out of his saxophone on that album. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you like some more Ned Coleman? Yes, good challenging listening.
Yep.
All right, well, that ends episode 394 of Lou's Music. I'm sure in the next episode we'll find music again. Okay, so
Yes.
stay tuned, everybody.